Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mindful Addict. My name's Darren Ford, and today I want to talk about our ability to ask for help. One of the most difficult things for us addicts to do in recovery is to recognize two things. One, that we need to ask for help, and two, that it's a skill we've always had. We just didn't use it in a constructive manner. Let me explain. Think about it, right? When we were in our active addiction, we had no problem asking for help. We would reach out to our dealer, we would find ways, we would find means to get more of whatever the substance or to behave in whatever way that we were going to behave in, right? And that is asking for help. The only unfortunate part is it's asking for help with a destructive behavior, right? And so it's hilarious because when we get into recovery, well, maybe not hilarious because it's actually painful. But when you're in recovery and you reflect back, you kind of hit yourself in the head and go, oh yeah, right? Because when we get into recovery, all of a sudden, it's so difficult for us to ask for help from the recovery community. We say, oh no, I can't do that. Or we think, we have to do it ourselves. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that it is. And it's not about the asking for help. See, this is the big thing that we think, or that we delude ourselves with. It's not about the asking for help, because think about it. When we ask for help from our dealer to get more drugs or anything like that, right? There was something in that interaction that is not present when we ask for help in recovery, and that is called vulnerability, right? You see, when we ask for help from our dealer, right, it's about just getting more of a substance so that we can numb ourselves to our emotions more. So it's about distraction from our emotions, right? And we don't we're not able to recognize the vulnerability that is associated with asking for help because the drugs numb us to it. And the behavior of addiction numb us to it. However, when we reach out for help in recovery, we're leaning into being more vulnerable, right? And when we do that, it is excruciatingly difficult for one reason and one reason only, because of the trauma we had growing up, right? So when we were abused growing up, when we had emotional trauma growing up, what we were told that our wants and our needs were subjugated or were less than or less important than the perpetrator of the abuse's wants and needs. That's the very definition of trauma, is somebody else says, no, your wants and needs are irrelevant. It's only mine, and you will feed my wants and needs no matter what, right? So then you're left holding this perspective that you and what you need and what you want and the help that you need, you can't ask for that. It's not important, right? But you find another way to ask for help. It's just through addiction, through compulsive behaviors that propagate, right? Or the use of drugs that propagate a disassociative relationship with your emotions and thus reality. So asking for help is not the issue. It's being vulnerable, admitting that we need help. That's the issue. And really what we have to recognize is whether or not we are acting in our addiction or we are acting in recovery. In order for us to act, to behave in either one of those things, we are going to need to be able to ask for help, right? And so what comes with that, the vulnerability that comes with that, is excruciatingly difficult to tolerate and is absolutely necessary, right? So what do we do? Well, what I encourage people to do is very simple. right, is to set a timer or set an alarm on your phone to reach out for help once a day, right? In relationship to anything that has to do with your recovery community, right? Even if it's to call your sponsor and say, hey, I don't really have anything to talk about. However, I just am exercising my muscles to be vulnerable and ask for help right now, right? And if you don't have a sponsor, then you're going to have a friend in recovery that does it. The reality is that the more isolated we are, the more addiction it gains power and influence over our lives, because the mind does what it knows. And what our mind knows when we're in our active addiction, or when we're just starting recovery, or even if we've been in recovery for years, what our mind knows is how to numb ourselves to the emotions that arise from our acceptance of reality, right? Our acceptance of our humanity. And so inevitably, left to its own devices, the mind will just slowly migrate us back to the old ways. Now, it will take longer and longer the more time we spend in recovery, and the more mindful we are, and the more we investigate in a compassionate manner what's happening emotionally, and the greater ability we have to sit with the distress of emotions. However, we will always come to points where we're flooded and overwhelmed with emotions. And when we are, we need to ask for help, right? So we just reach out and we ask for that help in any way, shape, or form that we can, as long as it's with somebody who has been in recovery either the same amount of time or a little longer than we have. That is what's necessary. It's not reaching out to our dealer for help. Right? We've been there, we've done that. We know the kind of help that they'll offer, and it's not the kind that we need. All right? So I want to thank you so much for your time. Please remember to be gentle with yourself, to make choices that are self-loving and that are accepting of your self-humanity. And I should let you know, too, that I've been doing this for a long time, and guess what? I still struggle to ask for help. I should probably text my sponsor right now, because I haven't in a while. You know what? I think I will do that right after this. So thank you so much for your time, for your focus. Remember to be gentle with yourself, to care for yourself, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take good care. Bye-bye.